Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on a figure who didn't just race cars. He really redefined an entire sport through sheer, unapologetic aggression and just a relentless pursuit of victory.
We are talking, of course, about Ralph Dale Earnhardt Sr., a legend who, in life, earned 76 wins and tied that incredible record of 7 championships.
And in death became the unwilling catalyst for the greatest safety revolution in the history of motorsport.
Our mission today is to take the stack of sources detailing Dale Earnhardt's extraordinary career, starting from his humble roots in Kannapolis, North Carolina, all the way to his final laps at Daytona.
We're going to unpack how he earned those nicknames: the Intimidator, the Man in Black. We'll examine the 2 decades he spent driving that iconic #3 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing.
And with the necessary sobriety and respect, we'll analyze the circumstances and the profound, lasting aftermath of his tragic death in 2001.
Right. The story of Dale Earnhardt is inseparable from the culture of speed and competition. And when we discuss the loss of life, we are strictly adhering to the facts presented in our sources: the incident, the investigation, and of course, the resulting changes.
Our goal is to understand not just the champion, but the complex individual who, ironically, now defines modern safety in the sport.
That complexity is really the heart of this deep dive. His influence is everywhere, from the cars you see on the track today to the very way fans interact with the sport.
So let's begin at the starting line. Part 1. The ascent of Dale Earnhardt, covering his beginnings in 1975, right through those tumultuous transition years ending in 1983.
You know, racing was practically a birthright for Dale Earnhardt. He was born in 1951, and his father, Ralph Earnhardt, was already a top local short track driver.
He was a champion in his own right. He claimed the NASCAR Sportsman Championship in 1956. So our sources really paint a picture of a household that was defined by the smell of grease and the roar of engines.
Absolutely. The sources indicate that Dale's racing education began incredibly early. There's a fascinating anecdote. I think he was just 12 years old.
12 years old, right. And without his father's permission, he secretly takes out one of Ralph's modified cars and manages to nearly win a race against one of his father's chief rivals.
It just speaks volumes about the raw, innate talent he had and that immediate confidence behind the wheel.
And yet, despite that natural talent, his father didn't necessarily want him to follow that path. He probably knew the financial and personal toll the sport takes.
But Dale was just single-minded. He dropped out of school to pursue racing full-time.
And then suddenly in 1973, when Dale was just 22, the pressure ramped up dramatically.
His father, Ralph Earnhardt, died of a heart attack at only 45 years old.
So young. And the sources note that this loss created a powerful psychological driver for Dale. He felt this overwhelming pressure to prove himself, to become the successful racer his father never quite got to see him become.
And that internal drive really fueled his legendary intensity for years to come.
His official foray into the upper echelon, the Winston Cup Series, came in 1975. He made his points race debut at the World 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a grueling 600-mile endurance test.
He was in the #8 Dodge and finished 22nd.
And here's a piece of trivia that feels predestined. That 22nd place finish put him exactly 1 spot ahead of a driver who was also racing that day, a man named Richard Childress.
Who would, of course, become his lifelong owner and partner. It's such a tiny detail in a long career, but it really is the genesis of that RCR dynasty.
After a few sporadic starts, he moves into his first full-time role with Rod Osterlund Racing. And the 1979 season, his rookie year, was marked by this classic Earnhardt blend of brilliance and, disaster.
That's a perfect description. I mean, he won Rookie of the Year despite actually missing 4 races.
Because of a broken collarbone, right, from a crash at Pocono.
Exactly. And he still managed 1 win at Bristol, 4 poles, and 17 top 10 finishes. But the following year, 1980, is where he truly burst onto the scene.
His sophomore season was immediately historic. He won the non-points Busch Clash at Daytona to kick off the season.
And then he went on to win his first Winston Cup Points Championship. And he did this with a very young team, including a 20-year-old crew chief, Doug Richer.
And what's crucial for you to grasp here is the sheer statistical improbability of this. Dale Earnhardt is the only driver in NASCAR Cup history to win Rookie of the Year, and then immediately follow it up by winning the championship the very next season.
It's just an unheard of progression. It immediately put him in the conversation of, generational talents.
Yet right after that high, the next few years were marked by instability. In 1981, halfway through the season, the owner, Rod Osterlund sold the team to a man named Jim Stacy.
And the sources say there was an immediate clash between Earnhardt and Stacy. It led Dale to drive for Richard Childress Racing for the rest of that year.
And even that relationship didn't stick at first. He left RCR at the end of '81, citing a lack of chemistry. It just shows that even the great Dale Earnhardt was still searching for the right professional home.
That search led him to Bud Moore Engineering for 1982 and 83, where he drove the iconic number 15 Wrangler Ford Thunderbird.
The 1982 season, driving a Ford, which was his only full-time stint outside of a Chevrolet in his Cup career, was rough.
It ended up being his career worst points finish, 12th place. And looking at the numbers, it's not hard to see why.
It wasn't about the pace. It was about finishing. He racked up a staggering 18 DNFs, did not finish out of only 30 races that year.
18. For those who aren't deep into racing statistics, an 18 DNF season means more than half the time your car retired early.
Right, due to mechanical failure or a crash. That many failures completely annihilates any chance at a championship.
Speaking of crashes, he also broke his kneecap in a flip at Pocono Raceway after contact with Tim Richmond that year, which just further shows the physical toll that unstable team environment was taking.
He did manage to rebound in 1983. He got 2 wins, one at Nashville and one at Talladega, and secured his first of 12 total wins in the twin 125 Daytona 500 qualifying races.
Even with 13 DNF that year, he finished 8th in points. The talent was clearly still there, but the stability just wasn't.
But the stage was set for the defining relationship of his career.
Which brings us into part 2, The Intimidator and the Reign of Black, covering 1984 through 1990. This is where Dale Earnhardt becomes the Dale Earnhardt.
Exactly. After the '83 season, he returned to Richard Childress Racing. This time, that lack of chemistry was gone, and the pieces just clicked into place. He took over the number 3 Chevrolet from Ricky Rudd.
And the relationship with RCR became one of the most successful partnerships in the history of the sport, second only maybe to Petty and his longtime teams.
The Wrangler's sponsorship followed him back to RCR, and over the 1984 and 1985 seasons, he found his footing again, scored 6 victories. But the true, undeniable dominance began in 1986.
He won his second career Winston Cup championship that year, delivering RCR its very first Owners' Championship. That validated the partnership right away.
But 1987 was just pure domination.
The sources show astonishing statistics for '87. He won 11 races that season and just cruised to the championship by an incredible 489 points over his closest competitor, Bill Elliott.
To put that in perspective for you, that margin of victory is virtually unheard of in the modern era of the sport.
He was on a completely different level. He set a modern-era NASCAR record by winning 4 consecutive races during the season, and he won 5 of the first 7 races.
He was untouchable.
And this is the season, 1987, when the name The Intimidator was formally cemented in racing lore.
And the origin story of that name, it revolves around a specific, gravity-defying maneuver at the 1987 Winston All-Star race. It's known as the Pass in the Grass.
The term itself is a bit of a misnomer, as you noted, but the legend stuck because of the sheer audacity of it. Earnhardt was battling Bill Elliott for the lead at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
They made contact, and Elliott sent Earnhardt down into the infield grass on the front straightaway. At those speeds, most drivers would have spun, wrecked, or, at the very least, conceded the position.
But not Earnhardt.
He kept his foot firmly in the throttle and somehow maintained control as he slid through the muddy grass, kicking up this enormous plume of turf and dirt.
And he drove the car back onto the track in turn 1 without losing his lead. It was a display of physical car control and pure mental aggression that terrified opponents and thrilled fans.
And that's the key. He didn't actually pass anyone while he was off the track. He just refused to yield his position. He made the car do something it shouldn't have been able to do, effectively daring the other drivers to challenge him.
That moment permanently branded him. It was a statement, I will not lift and I will not lose.
That style, however, it came at a price. The sources note that the intensity he generated was so profound that following that race, an angry fan sent a letter to Bill France Jr. threatening to kill Earnhardt at 3 different tracks.
Wow. So this required the FBI to provide a security detail for him at Pocono, Watkins Glen, and Dover.
It did. That level of public reaction, both admiration and outright hatred, is rare in any sport. It demonstrates he was more than just a driver. He was a polarizing cultural figure.
And NASCAR responded to this intense, often hazardous driving style by introducing rules to curb offensive behavior, subjecting drivers who caused hazardous conditions to time in the garage or fines.
But Earnhardt just absorbed the fines and the criticism and kept driving. He didn't see it as aggression. He saw it as hard racing, part of the job.
In 1988, he underwent a visual change that finalized his legendary appearance. Wrangler dropped sponsorship, and he signed with GM Goodwrench.
And this switch meant the number 3 car went from blue and yellow to that signature deep black color scheme.
The man in black was born.
And that black number 3 with the silver Goodwrench logo remained his livery for the rest of his career. It became one of the most recognizable and often feared symbols in all of motorsports.
He kept winning, securing 3 victories in '88 and finishing third in points. But 1989 brought a painful championship near miss.
He won 5 races that year, but the championship came down to the wire against Rusty Wallace, and the moment that arguably cost him the title happened late in the season at North Wilkesboro.
A late race spin put him behind the 8 ball, and he ultimately lost the championship to Wallace by a razor-thin margin of only 12 points.
Those are the kinds of near misses that fuel the hunger.
And that hunger was immediately tested at the start of the 1990 season with that infamous Daytona 500 misfortune. This event is a masterpiece of racing tragedy.
It's absolute heartbreak turned into folklore. Earnhardt was completely dominant. The final caution flies, and when the race goes back green, he's leading Derek Cope by an insurmountable margin up to 40 seconds.
The victory was secure. After 12 years of trying, it was finally his.
But then, on the final lap, coming into turn 3, disaster struck. Not in the form of a competitor, but just random track debris.
He ran over a piece of metal, later identified as a bell housing that had fallen off another car, which instantly cut down his right rear tire.
He had to fight the car, which was dragging the flat tire, and Derek Cope, who had been running second, just inherits the lead and this massive upset victory.
And Earnhardt limps across the line in 5th place, having led 155 at the 200 laps. It was a victory stolen by fate.
The reaction from the team speaks to the magnitude of that loss. The number 3 crew famously took that ruined flat tire and hung it on the shop wall.
A constant physical reminder of that failure, fueling their drive to finally conquer the great American race.
And despite that crushing start, Earnhardt showed his resilience by winning 9 races that season and securing his 4th Winston Cup title, beating Mark Martin by 26 points.
Heartbreak at Daytona didn't derail the ultimate prize.
And that achievement sets the stage perfectly for Part 3. 7 championships and the hunt for the 500, covering the years 1991 through 1998, when he truly cemented his status as a historical icon.
The 1991 season saw him claim his 5th championship, continuing the dominance. But one win that year stands out for maintaining a record he already held.
Right, that was the North Wilkesboro race. Harry Gant, another veteran driver, was having this phenomenal late career surge and was trying to set a modern-era record by winning his 5th consecutive race.
And Earnhardt was challenging him, and when Gant's brakes failed late in the race, Earnhardt made the pass for the win.
Securing his 5th title and stopping Gant's incredible run. It was a classic Intimidator move. Not just winning, but denying a rival a major milestone.
But the next year, 1992, brought the second great slump of his career. Despite being the championship favorite, he only won 1 race all year.
The Coca-Cola 600, which notably ended a 13-race win streak by Ford teams. But yeah, he finished a disappointing 12th in the point standings.
That finish mirrored his 1982 slump. The second and final time in his career he finished that low in the points, his frustration was palpable.
He still had to attend the awards banquet, and when asked about the season, he famously remarked to Rusty Wallace, "This sucks, I should have gone hunting."
A year ended with a major change, as his longtime championship crew chief, Kirk Shelmerdine, departed to pursue a driving career.
And a major slump demands a major change. 1993 provided it with the hiring of Andy Petrie as crew chief, and the change was instant.
He finished second in the Daytona 500 after dominating speed weeks, and then went on to score 6 wins, capturing his 6th Winston Cup title.
Among those wins were the first ever primetime running of the Coca-Cola 600 and another win at Daytona in the Pepsi 400. He beat Rusty Wallace for the championship by 80 points.
But it was a season marked by sorrow in the racing community, as Davey Allison and Alan Kulwicki were both tragically lost in separate plane accidents.
And the sources mention a beautiful moment of sportsmanship after the season-ending race at Atlanta. Earnhardt, despite finishing 3rd, joined race winner Rusty Wallace in running a dual Polish victory lap.
For our listeners who may not be familiar with that tradition, what exactly is the Polish victory lap?
It's a ceremonial, slow-paced lap, often with the driver holding a flag out the window. It was originally popularized by Alan Kulwicki after his first win. It's often used as a direct tribute to a fallen driver or a special person.
So in this case, Earnhardt and Wallace ran the lap together, carrying flags in solemn remembrance of Allison and Kulwicki. It was a rare public display of reverence from the hard-driving Earnhardt.
And then came 1994, the monumental season. Earnhardt secured his 7th Winston Cup championship, officially tying the record held by the King, Richard Petty.
He called the achievement something he once thought was impossible. Consistency was the absolute hallmark of that year.
He got 4 wins and capitalized when his closest rival, Ernie Irvan, was sidelined by a near-deadly crash at Michigan. Earnhardt sealed the deal with a victory at Rockingham and won the title by more than 400 points over Mark Martin.
This achievement permanently placed him in the highest echelon of the sport.
Even after matching Petty's record, the pursuit of victories continued. 1995 brought another major milestone, winning the inaugural Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He called that victory the biggest of his career, which is a testament to the prestige of racing at Indianapolis.
He also secured his first ever road course victory that year at Sears Point. He finished second in the championship to the rising star and new dominant force, Jeff Gordon.
And that rivalry, the veteran champion versus the fresh-faced younger talent, really defined the mid-90s.
We found a fascinating insider detail in the sources regarding a potential career shift. Despite all his success at RCR, Earnhardt nearly left the team at the end of 1995.
That's right. Robert Yates Racing, a top-tier team, tried to start a second car, the number 88, following Ernie Irvan's serious injury, and they sent a contract to Earnhardt.
But he reportedly never returned the contract. The scuttlebutt was that if he left, he only wanted to drive the number 28, which was reserved for Irvan's return. He ultimately chose to stay with Childress and the number 3, a decision that cemented the RCR legacy.
Now we come to 1996, a pivotal year in terms of his physical well-being and the immediate trajectory of safety in the sport. Tell us about the crash at Talladega during the Die Hard 500.
This was a terrifying accident. Earnhardt was second in points, chasing his 8th title, when a multi-car pileup initiated by Ernie Irvan's car caused chaos.
Earnhardt's number 3 Chevrolet struck the tri-oval wall near head-on at close to 200 miles per hour, flooping the car. As it slid across the track, another car struck the roof and windshield of his car.
Our sources note that rain delays had canceled the live telecast, meaning many fans first saw the wreckage on the evening news, which just amplified the shock.
But his reaction afterwards solidified that nickname, Ironhead.
Despite the severity of the impact, when medical workers rushed to his car, Earnhardt climbed out, waved to the crowd, and adamantly refused to be loaded onto a stretcher. He walked straight to the ambulance.
And he had suffered a broken collarbone, sternum, and shoulder blade, yet he was determined to hide the severity of those injuries.
The significance of this particular wreck, combined with a prior fatal accident involving a driver named Russell Phillips, led to an immediate and permanent safety mandate.
Correct. This crash, where the roof and windshield took such a massive impact, directly resulted in NASCAR mandating the Earnhardt bar,
which is a metal brace installed in the center of the windshield area, designed to reinforce the roof structure in the event of a rollover or a similar impact. It was a direct consequence of his brush with mortality.
And that bar is still mandatory today, even in some other forms of road racing.
His display of true grit was immediate. The following week, still in severe pain, with his arm strapped to his side, he drove the number 3 at Watkins Glen to the fastest time in qualifying,
earning the True Grit pole.
He even led for much of that road course race, but the exhaustion and the pain from his broken bone finally took their toll, and he finished 6th. He showed incredible heart, driving through massive injury, but he didn't win another points race in 96, finishing 4th in the standings.
And through all the wins and all the championships, one massive prize still eluded him. The Daytona 500. After 19 previous attempts, 1998 was finally his year.
The emotional weight surrounding this race was immense. Earnhardt had already kicked off Speed Weeks by winning his twin 125-mile qualifying race for the 9th straight year.
Which is an incredible streak, just demonstrating his mastery of restrictor plate tracks. For listeners, restrictor plates are devices mandated by NASCAR at the highest speed tracks like Daytona and Talladega to limit engine horsepower and reduce speeds, keeping the pack tight.
On race day, February 15, 1998, he was a contender early. While Jeff Gordon dominated the middle portion, Earnhardt took the lead just after lap 138. And the end of the race relied heavily on strategy and teamwork.
It did. He needed help from his teammates in the draft, and he got it. A crucial late push from his teammate Mike Skinner helped him maintain the lead.
And when a late caution flag flew, The race finished under caution, meaning Earnhardt took the checkered flag finally at Daytona.
The immediate aftermath was pure magic. Every crew member from every single team, regardless of rivalry or allegiance, lined pit road to shake his hand as he drove toward victory lane.
It was a universal sign of respect for a goal finally achieved.
And Earnhardt, known for his stoicism, he just let loose. He drove the number 3 into the infield grass and spun the car twice, leaving tire tracks shaped like a giant number 3 in the turf.
Starting a trend of post-race celebrations, he later said simply, "The Daytona 500 is ours. We won it, we won it, we won it." The curse was broken.
Now we move to part 4, which covers the final competitive years from 1999 to 2000, and then transitions into the immediate aftermath of the tragic 2001 race.
Even nearing 50 years old, his competitive fire was undimmed. In 1999, he continued his restrictor plate dominance by sweeping both Talladega races.
That year also brought perhaps the most famous or infamous line of his career at the Bristol night race.
He bumped race leader Terry Labonte on the final lap, spinning him out of contention, allowing Earnhardt to collect the win amidst a chorus of boos from the spectators.
When interviewed afterward, his famous justification became a classic Intimidator statement that perfectly encapsulated his persona.
"I didn't mean to turn him around. I just wanted to rattle his cage." That's the perfect summation of his aggressive, risk-taking, borderline illegal style of driving. He pushed the rules right to the very edge.
The 2000 season was a real resurgence for him, widely attributed to neck surgery he underwent to fix a lingering injury from that massive '96 Talladega crash. He delivered 2 dramatic high-stakes wins.
The wins were vintage Earnhardt. He beat Bobby Labonte at Atlanta by an incredible margin of .010 seconds, one of the closest finishes in NASCAR history.
Then, at Talladega, he delivered arguably the greatest performance of his career, gaining 17 positions in the final 4 laps to secure his 10th win at that track.
He finished the season second in points, and remarkably was one of only 2 drivers to complete the entire year with 0 DNFs. He was back at the top of his game.
And this level of competitiveness set the stage for the 2001 Daytona 500, a race destined to become the defining yet tragic final chapter of his life.
February 18, 2001 at Daytona International Speedway. Earnhardt was driving, but he was also running his own team, Dale Earnhardt, Inc., or DEI. His focus was partly on helping his 2 DEI cars, driven by his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip, secure the win.
The sources detail the exact moment of the incident. On the final lap, the 3-car crash occurred in Turn 4. Earnhardt was driving the number 3, blocking the pack from getting to the DEI cars.
He was trying to hold off Ken Schrader on the outside and Sterling Marlin on the inside.
In that moment, he made contact with Marlin's car, which sent Earnhardt's car up the track. He corrected, but the car spun sideways, and when the contact happened again, he struck the outside wall head-on.
Both his car and Ken Schrader's car slid off the asphalt, banking into the infield grass just short of the finish line.
The complexity and just the immense tragedy of the moment are underscored by the contrast. Just seconds after the wreck, his driver, Michael Waltrip, won the Daytona 500.
Followed by his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in second place. A massive victory for the team occurred simultaneously with a catastrophic loss for its owner.
Earnhardt was immediately rushed to the Halifax Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead at 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We approach this aspect of the story with the utmost seriousness and sympathy for the tragic loss of this massive figure in the sport and a person deeply loved by his family.
The autopsy, conducted days later, confirmed the specific cause of death was a fatal basilar skull fracture.
For the benefit of our listeners, what exactly is a basilar skull fracture, and why is it so deadly in these high-speed crashes?
A basilar skull fracture is essentially the complete separation of the base of the skull from the top of the spinal column. In high-speed, frontal impacts where the car slows almost instantly, what we call extreme deceleration, the driver's torso is restrained by the seatbelts.
But the head and helmet, which weigh significantly more due to the forces involved, are violently whipped forward.
Exactly. This massive rotational force, or whiplash, causes the skull to violently detach from the neck. It is instantaneous and almost universally fatal.
The immediate aftermath was chaotic, both personally and systemically. The fan reaction was highly emotional and, misplaced.
Unfortunately, yes. Sterling Marlin and his family received a barrage of hate mail and death threats from angry fans who incorrectly blamed him for causing the accident.
This necessitated Michael Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt Jr. making public statements, forcefully absolving Marlin of any blame and emphasizing that this was simply a racing accident.
The investigation that followed was unprecedented in the sport's history. An immediate investigation was launched by both the Daytona Beach Police Department and NASCAR, focusing heavily on what happened to the restraint systems.
And the sources highlight a major controversy regarding the seatbelts. Allegations arose that the seatbelts in the number 3 car, which were lap and shoulder belts, failed or fractured during the impact.
This led to intense scrutiny of the manufacturer, Bill Simpson, whose company supplied almost every restraint system in NASCAR. Simpson resigned shortly thereafter amid the intense public pressure, although he maintained the belts were not the primary cause of the fatal injury.
But the true, lasting revolution that came from this investigation focused on the nature of the injury itself, the basilar skull fracture.
Right. Earnhardt's death was universally regarded as the crucial, undeniable moment that forced major, comprehensive safety improvements across all aspects of car racing.
The lack of a head and neck restraint, or HANDS device, was immediately identified as the missing component that could have prevented the tragedy.
The HANDS device secures the helmet to the shoulder harness, preventing the head from whipping violently forward in a deceleration event, thus eliminating the basilar skull fracture.
And what's so deathly complex and tragically ironic, as we noted earlier, is that Earnhardt himself had refused to wear the HANDS device previously.
He found it restrictive and uncomfortable, and argued it limited his visibility, which was a common complaint among veteran drivers at the time.
Yet the pressure was now overwhelming. NASCAR, which had previously encouraged but not mandated the HANDS device, acted swiftly. In October 2001, NASCAR officially mandated the use of the HANDS device or similar restraints for all drivers.
Effective immediately, that mandate alone has saved countless lives.
But the safety transformation extended beyond just the driver restraint systems, didn't it? The entire architecture of the track and the car had to change.
Absolutely. The Earnhardt tragedy accelerated two major innovations. First, new car designs were implemented to move the driver more toward the center of the chassis and away from the sides. But the biggest structural change was the rapid adoption of the safer barrier system.
The safer barrier steel and foam energy reduction had been in development, but was slow to be installed at major tracks. What does the system do, and why did this crash mandate its immediate, widespread adoption?
Well, the safer barrier consists of steel tubes backed by foam blocks mounted in front of the unforgiving concrete walls. When a car hits it, the barrier absorbs kinetic energy over a longer period of time and distance, rather than forcing an instant stop against concrete.
Which dramatically reduces the deceleration forces exerted on the driver, which is what causes injuries like the basilar skull fracture.
Exactly. Following Earnhardt's death and the investigation into deceleration rates, the push for every major speedway to install the safer barrier became a non-negotiable priority. It transformed the safety landscape of every NASCAR track in America.
So his legacy is not just the championships he won, but the system of safety he unwillingly bequeathed to the future of the sport. We now move to part 5, the enduring legacy of the number 3.
Richard Childress, his owner, made an immediate and profound public pledge. The number 3 would never again be used on a black GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. He retired that specific livery combination out of respect.
Childress renumbered the team to the number 29 and named his second-year Busch Series driver, Kevin Harvick, as the replacement.
And Harvick's first win, just 3 weeks later at Atlanta Motor Speedway, was an intensely emotional moment.
It truly was. In a photo finish, Harvick beat Jeff Gordon by .0006 seconds, an almost impossibly close margin, mirroring the tight photo finishes Earnhardt himself had delivered.
Following the victory, Harvick did a celebratory burnout and held 3 fingers aloft outside the driver's window as a direct, public tribute to the man he had replaced.
Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt, Inca, the team Earnhardt owned, continued to race and experienced great success in 2001, winning 5 races.
The emotion surrounding DEI was intense. Steve Park, another DEI driver, won the race at Rockingham just 1 week after Earnhardt's death. But the emotional peak came in July, when the series returned to Daytona for the Pepsi 400.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the race, with Michael Waltrip finishing second, reversing the finish of the Daytona 500. It was seen by many fans as a profound, healing moment for the sport.
There was a common misconception that the number 3 was permanently retired from the sport after Earnhardt's death. But the sources clarified the nuance of racing numbers.
That's an important distinction. While Richard Childress pledged to retire the combination of the black GM Goodwrench sponsorship with the number 3, NASCAR, not RCR, actually owns the rights to all racing numbers.
Right, but RCR had priority over the reuse of the number. RCR still owns the distinct, stylized number 3 logo that Earnhardt made famous, and Harvick's number 29 car displayed that stylized number 3 on its B-posts until Harvick left RCR in 2013.
The number 3 did eventually make its return.
Yes, Childress's grandson, Austin Dillon, began driving the number in the lower NASCAR series, and it eventually made its full-time return to the Cup Series in 2014, driven by Dillon. While the color scheme is different, the return of the number itself marked a new era.
The fan devotion remains immense, perhaps more visible than for any other figure in modern racing.
It is a unique and powerful legacy. Fans have maintained the tradition of honoring Earnhardt by holding 3 fingers aloft on the 3rd lap of every single race.
And for more than a year following his death, the television coverage on FOX and NBC would even go silent on the 3rd lap unless a caution flag was out, paying tribute to the silence and respect for the lost hero.
His legacy extends far beyond the physical track. There are multiple physical memorials to his life and career.
Daytona International Speedway, the site of his greatest triumphs and tragedy, honors him with the Earnhardt Tower, a named seating section.
In his hometown of Kannapolis, North Carolina, the Dale Earnhardt Plaza was erected in 2002, featuring a massive 9-foot, 900-pound bronze statue of him.
And if you drive through that area, you'll find Dale Earnhardt Boulevard right off I-85. Texas Motor Speedway even named one of its entrances Dale Earnhardt Way.
And his influence isn't limited to North America. We see his global impact reflected in Formula One, a very different discipline of motorsport.
F1 driver Daniel Ricciardo chose the number 3 as his permanent racing number starting in 2014, explicitly citing his admiration for Earnhardt.
And Ricciardo has even gone so far as to dress up in the vintage Wrangler car attire, demonstrating how the persona of the Intimidator transcends specific disciplines and national boundaries.
His official accolades are extensive. He was an inaugural member of the NASCAR Hall of Fame class in 2010. His helmet from the 1998 Daytona 500 victory is preserved in the National Museum of American History at the Smithsonian.
He was such a force that, despite his tragic loss in February 2001, he was posthumously named NASCAR's most popular driver that year, a title he had never won during his life.
We have spent time reviewing the unparalleled career of Dale Earnhardt, a driver defined by ruthless aggression, a commitment to winning at any cost, and a mentality that often put him at direct odds with emerging safety efforts.
We've seen that he was the champion who resisted the Hand S device due to concerns over comfort and visibility until the very end.
And yet, we've established the profound and complex irony of his entire story. Dale Earnhardt is now universally credited with being the catalyst for the mandate of that exact device, along with the adoption of the safer barrier, ultimately saving countless lives.
And defining the very safety standards of modern motorsport for generations of drivers who came after him.
What does it say about the human condition in the course of history when a person's greatest, most life-saving legacy is not born from a triumph they sought, but from their most tragic resistance to change?
It forces us to acknowledge that sometimes the greatest lessons are learned through the most heartbreaking costs, permanently altering the safety of high-speed competition across the globe.